HotWireFoamCutterInfo.com presents the Combination Foam Cutter.
Hi guys, Carlo here from Let's Cut Foam, or Monte Carlo 712, whichever channel you happen to be watching this video on. I must apologize for the long break I've had since the last posting or the last video, but for those of you who follow my blog, you'll know that I've been hard at work behind the scenes, answering emails and that kind of thing. And I still try to catch up on videos for all you guys who post too, but the reason for my posting here today is I am just about complete with a brand new product that I've developed really over the last 6 months. It's taken me at least 6 months to put all the pieces together, which you may even say is too much time once you see what it is, which is kind of over my left shoulder here. But what I've developed is called a combination foam cutter, or combination hot wire foam cutter. And where this product came from was really my desire to put a hot wire foam cutter into the hands of every hobbyist. The fact of the matter remains, you don't really need a hot wire foam cutter if you're into, miniature wargaming, especially if you create, terrain. You can get around it with box cutters and rasps, and different techniques. You don't really need a hot wire foam cutter. But there are definitely components of terrain making that are made simpler when you have a hot wire foam cutter. It's just quicker, and sometimes the sculpting is very unique depending on what type of hot wire foam cutter you have. But the issue that I always found from the very beginning was that it was a difficult expense to justify, especially if you wanted all of the tools. If you wanted a hand cutter that had the straight line, but then you also want the bendable cutter, the bendable wire cutter, versus a tabletop cutter. With the power supply, you may be looking at $300, $400, $500 before it's all said and done. And again, when you don't really need something, most people I think would rather put $400 or $500 into multiple armies depending on what game system you're playing, and then if you're happen to be a hobby train enthusiast, you might want to put that money into track and rigs and that kind of thing. But in any regard, once my brain started going on all of the different products that I offer on the website, between the small tabletop cutter, small handheld cutter, so on and so forth, is I knew there was a way that I could combine everything, but I really had to overcome a bunch of different hurdles. First and foremost, the most obvious is shipping. If I'm going to create a tabletop cutter and hand cutter, how am I going to get it to everyone and be it feasible as far as a cost is concerned? And looking at it, is most people don't need a large cutter. Most people are happy with a 1 foot by 1 foot, 12 inches by 12 inch base for a tabletop cutter, because you're making little small cuts. You're not doing really big things. And the same goes for a handheld cutter. Most people don't need one of the big, behemoth cutters. They just need kind of something to sculpt on the small scale. So, looking at what's available from shipping and so on and so forth, I kind of got that whole aspect squared away through the USPS, the United States Postal Service, just their flat rate shipper, the large box. Done, sent. And there's a similar size box that can also go international for you guys who are overseas. The next one was, okay, so let's say I want to build a combination foam cutter. The power supply by far has been the most time consuming of this entire project. I'm probably looking at least a solid 2 months, maybe 3 months on just research and development for the power supply. And there's, as you guys imagine, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. You have, the resistance of a straight wire cutter versus a bendable cutter versus a tabletop versus, and trying to figure out, really a flat electrical requirement is difficult, because it's just hard. Of course, take my word for it. But The other thing is, when you start to get into power supplies that you can vary the amperage and resistance, your price goes up dramatically. I mean, you would look at anything from $80, $90, $110, $200, depending on what type of power supply you want. And again, that's a pretty considerable investment. But then looking at just a plug, wall plugs power supply or a desktop power supply, not all of them have the rated amperage, and we'd end up burning through power supplies and that kind of thing. So I'm currently, right now, almost completely done. I've been working with 3 separate companies for quotes and at least what they can manufacture for power supplies. But the power supply I'm going to acquire is rated for international input. So everyone in the UK, in Europe, in the United States, and Australia, I'll have a unit for you. It'll be one power supply, and all I'm going to have to do is change the input when I send it over to you. So I don't want you guys to think that I've only thought about the American market, or at least my American viewers, because you international guys are out there too. You're also in part of the hobby and part of the community. So I'm almost done with the power supply component, but I want you guys to know that it is going to be rated for international use. And it's going to be a solid state power supply. It's going to be totally thoughtless. You plug the power supply in and you got your cutter to work. So you don't even have to think twice about it. You just have to, make sure that you remember that you have a hot wire going at all times, because I won't be having a switch on or anything like that. Like I said, I think those were probably the 2 biggest hurdles. From a design standpoint, yeah, it took me a couple months to completely finish out with this design, and there's some specialty components I had to order through specialty manufacturers, different bolts and that kind of thing, but it all really came together in the end, and I hope you guys like it. For right now, I'm probably just going to show a very basic video on all the different functions of this this tabletop cutter. But I will be uploading full tutorial videos on how to use it. That's something that's going to be, a little bit step by step. Something that people can watch once they receive the cutters. But again, it's all going to be really straightforward. So, last but certainly not least, I know I'm going on about 6 or 7 minutes now, is the sales component. So, how much is this thing going to run? Ideally, I would like to have this power supply be at or below $90 your cost. So for $90, maybe $85, but $90 US, you'll have the combination hot wire foam cutter with the power supply, and I'll include free shipping. So just a flat rate. You guys, again, you won't have to try to figure out shipping and how are we going to get it and what's the best way to get it and so on and so forth. Like I said, I'm just going to flat rate ship this to anyone. If you want to have anything better than flat rate, of course, you'll make up the difference in cost on that. But for like I said, $90, we'll have this made and shipped right to you. Again, I'm going to be hand making all of these. So there's going to be a little bit of variability between products, but it's going to be exactly what I show here, at least to a certain degree. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoy it. If you are interested in one of these cutters, now one of these cutters, I mean the full set, get a hold of me, send me an email through sales@hotwirefoamcutterinfo.com. I want all of my emails pertaining to the selling of this particular product through that email address. It's going to be a lot easier for me to kind of sort and manage who's coming through. I should have these products completely available within the next month, but for right now I'm going to be taking kind of just a real soft release pre-order. So if you guys are looking and interested in this product, what I'm going to start doing is I would just like to kind of have a number of how many to make, and I'm just going to start kicking these out one after another, after another, after another, and as soon as I get the power supplies, they're in the box and in the mail. So, like I said, send me an email if this is something that you guys legitimately want. I'll have a link below to the portion of the website that will give you more specifics on this product, but I won't be having it directly linked through the website. So the link below is going to be special. It's only for my viewers. You guys are only be able to see it for now, but I will have it up, live, a live link on the website within probably a couple of weeks, maybe a month at the absolute most. So again, thank you guys very much for subscribing and staying on this video for as long as as it is. I think this is probably going to end up having to be part 1. I'm going to have a part 2 here in just 1 second. That way I don't lose you guys. So thanks again for watching, and I hope to be of service to you guys here in the future. Thank you.